So in this last example, we first need to find x. So I'm going to use my Pythagorean theorem. X squared plus 4 squared equals 8 squared. So x squared plus 16 equals 64. And then 16 from 64 is 48. Now 48 is not a perfect square, and I'm not allowed to have decimals. When it comes to right triangles, when it comes to anything in math, as we learned with quadratics, precision is key. So we never want to use decimals because it's an irrational number and you round it. So you want to simplify your radical. So we're going to break it down. 48 breaks down to 2 and 24. 24 breaks down to 2 and 12. 12 breaks down to 3 and 4, or 2, 2, and 3. So under my radical, I can take out the 2 sets of 2's. So 2 times 2, and then the square root of 3. Well, 2 times 2 is 4, so x is 4 times the square root of 3. So let's start with angle J. And again, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent is opposite over adjacent. So I'm going to label accordingly. So opposite and adjacent, and then hypotenuse. Now, my first one I'm going to look at is tangent, J. So opposite over adjacent. So 4 times the square root of 3 over 4. Now, when I look at that fraction, it's not simplified because my 4's cancel each other out. So tangent J is the square root of 3. So what about sine J? So sine J is opposite over hypotenuse. So 4 times the square root of 3 over 8, and 4 over 8, that will reduce down. 4's cancel out, 8 becomes a 2. So the square root of 3 over 2. Now let's relabel. So now we're going to be looking at angle H. So instead of being my opposite, I'm going to switch these two. This is now my opposite, and this is my adjacent. Jacob, go. So tangent H is opposite over adjacent. So 4 over 4 times the square root of 3. Now, the problem with this is we're not allowed to have a radical in the denominator. So remember about rationalizing the denominator. So we're going to multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 3 over the square root of 3. Now, also in this, you can go ahead and see how your 4's are going to cancel each other out. And so if you look, the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is 3. And so then I've got the square root of 3 over 3. So when you have a radical in the denominator, that's not considered simplified, so you've got to rationalize the denominator. So tangent H is the square root of 3 over 3. So what about sine H? So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So 4 over 8. But of course we want to reduce that down, and 4 over 8 reduces down to 1/2.